Hello everybody and welcome to another exciting episode of the 11 o'clock Waffle. I'm Mac Forsyth, and on this week's show we shall be discussing life stories from the past week's news ranging from the Boots of Patriot to Jack the Ripper. First up on the show, one of our rarest guests, as this is his third appearance in 3 series. Last time I saw him he was angrily writing in Chris Stanley's wedding journal to complain about the lack of single women at the wedding. Please welcome the young, dashing and debonair and available Mr. Dan Scholes.
Hey, thanks for that one. Hello.
Hello. Are you on Tinder at all?
Not yet. I guess maybe I should be. I didn't realise I looked so angry when I was writing either, by the way. That was just clearly my natural writing stance.
Everybody else I know from wrote these heartfelt messages, and you just look really bitter writing in that.
I was just clearly writing, where are the girls at?
Yeah, there was actually a lack of women there. Well, single women.
Maybe you just weren't looking hard enough. I think someone might have found somebody.
Who, you?
I couldn't say who. Not me.
Oh,
no.
Oh, I know.
I think you know who I mean.
Yeah, I remember you angrily shouting at me about it.
More bemused than anything, and confused a little bit, I guess. But yeah.
I'm pretty certain the words were how. How.
Anyway, moving on.
Moving on, yes, definitely. Next up, returning to the Waffle, is a Manchester United fan who still has faith they might win something soon. It's Steve Gibbard.
Steve!
Hi there, yeah, no, we are definitely winning something this year. Regardless, we'll win something. Worst team of the year, it'll be something.
No, I mean, you've spent a lot of money. Do you think that Man United could get into the Europa League?
Yeah, the Europa League?
Yeah.
I hope so, at the very minimum. Yeah, with all that money, we should get Champions League. It's no-brainer. I think we'll excel past Arsenal, finally, for top 4, and then we'll go from there. Definitely be better than Tottenham. Always better than Tottenham.
I don't know, we've got Harry Kane.
Oh, you've got Di Maria.
Best story of the day, it came too late to put on the show, but Danny Welbeck to Arsenal, and Wenger's come out and said, I wouldn't have bought him.
Yeah, I saw that in the news today. He was like, yeah, if I was in the country, wouldn't have got Danny Welbeck, but here we are today with Danny Welbeck, so I suppose I have to use him.
It's like when you send somebody out to get something, and they return with something completely different that they think might do the same job.
Well, he was in Rome. He was like, I was in Rome, and I come back and I have Danny Welbeck. What sort of business? I'm pretty sure he was furious when he came back, because I would be.
Nice to have you back on though, Steve. And finally, making his much-anticipated return to the show. Frustrated by his failed attempts to win previously, this guest has spent the last 11 months travelling the globe, exploring uncharted territories and meeting strange and mysterious tribes, where he became known as the Beige Avenger. Welcome back to the show, Mr. James Joseph Millar.
Yes, I am indeed back. It's good to be back. Been on my adventures, as you say. I'm here to win. I'm hungry for it.
Hungry for the win. Well, it's been a while.
It has, long time.
And the Beige Avenger, has that been picked up by any network chat?
Not yet. Working on it.
Working on it. Excellent. Welcome back to the show, James.
Thank you very much.
Let's crack on. Question 1. A Claude Monet landscape has been discovered in a suitcase. The suitcase belonged to an art hoarder, which is pretty much the difference between the classes. The rich have Monets in their suitcases up the loft, and the poor just have smaller suitcases. But what other unusual discoveries have there been? James, you're geared up for it. What have you got?
I've got 2 for this. They've discovered that the stones of Stonehenge are actually musical. Like they hit them with little quartz hammers and they make different notes and tones and stuff. So they reckon it was just like one giant sort of xylophone of the Druids. Also, they've discovered that there's about 17 different structures buried beneath it as well. And I also have that they've identified through DNA what the Yeti actually is now. Who knew?
Okay.
It's apparently 100% DNA match to a 40,000-year-old polar bear. So it's some sort of godless, primeval death bear.
It's basically the polar bear from Lost.
I wouldn't know. I didn't watch Lost.
You didn't miss much.
They're all lost, and that was it.
Season 2 was still called Lost. Yeah.
Season
why
3.
All the way through to
Still
season
lost.
6. Still
And
lost
it was
on
still
this
lost.
goddamn island.
Okay.
Lost but looking.
Let's go to Dan next. Unusual discoveries.
I think that thing about Stonehenge being musicals really fascinating, actually. But one of the things that I've never really understood, and probably never will, is how people discovered that milk and cheese were fantastic. I love cheese, and I have milk every day. But that first time, when you're under a cow, and you just think, I wonder what would happen. And I just can't get my head around it. And the idea of cheese, okay, yes, they've got milk now. Let's say they've got milk and it's fine, and they're carrying this milk, and oh no, it's gone all hard and it looks a bit off. I wonder if... I'll tell you what, we'll just try it anyway. That's mad. But I think it's fantastic that they discovered that it works like that. Where would we be without cheese?
Basically, the first farmer was a bit of a pervert.
Well, something was not quite right, I think. It's just really weird. It's just really unusual thing to do. I know, I'll drink from a completely, weird live animal. It's just bizarre to me.
Yeah, but then they went and did it with goats.
Yeah. Well, if I've had that milk, I'll have that.
What else can we milk?
I also like your description that he was lying under the cow. Like, he didn't just stick his arms under. He got on, his back. On one of those things you go into cars to do repairs on. Went under and thought, take your time here, lads.
Maybe he thought it was something else. I don't know.
Okay, Steve.
Yeah, well, that's I did like the Stonehenge one. I never knew that. But I've come across with a fish which has a penis head, and this isn't true. It's in the Vietnam Mekong Delta. It's a fish with a penis on its head. This was discovered in 2012, and it's not just any penis. It's an organ that includes a jagged hook to grab females during sex. Now, the thing is, the female fish that they go for, the genitals are in their throat. So
Wow.
it's kind of like a really awkward
Evolution
situation.
really messed them guys up, didn't they?
They did. God came across that and was like, well, let's, where else do we put the penis? On its head, I guess.
You know what?
Yeah.
Just for a bit of fun, I'll put it on its head.
It'd be funny. People will find it hilarious for centuries. It'd be the most bullied fish in the world.
It makes a weird kind of sense though, because it's like you put it on that end because the fish they move fast in a forward direction, so they just get up to ramming speed and
Yeah, just go straight
straight in.
hook themselves up, and then they're in.
Last
yeah,
week we had
very
3
good
women
image.
on the panel. The word ramming speed was not used.
But apparently, just for scientific knowledge, the hook is meant to ensure that the sperm gets into the right place.
Okay, it's a very interesting start to the show. Bonus points for James, as both the other guests were impressed by your answer.
Wait,
That's never happened before.
God,
Damn
I've
it.
been too nice.
Yes.
I'll never make that mistake again.
Question 2 now. Eddie Redmayne has revealed that he was filled with fear at the prospect of playing Stephen Hawking in a new film. As the film industry rather enjoys making biopic people, what other great performances have there been by actors as real-life people? And we'll start with Steve.
Without a doubt, Meryl Streep in The Iron Lady. She played Margaret Thatcher like nobody else could. I remember watching that in the cinema. Don't know why. It was actually a business trip to understand what it was like back in them days for Margaret Thatcher. And it was a good representation based on what I know from Margaret Thatcher. She played it so well. The whole sort of interesting story that went behind it. Definitely outrageous acting. Deserved so much more awards than I think she got in the end.
Okay, Maggie Thatcher and Meryl Streep. James, what have you got?
I've gone for Leo DiCaprio as Frank Abagnale Jr. in Catch Me If You Can. Brilliant film. Brilliant actor. He definitely should have won an Oscar by now. And he just played that. It was brilliant. Brilliant story as well. That he could go around pretending to be so many people for so long and nobody clocked up.
Definitely, it's definitely one of those films I need to see. Is Matt Damon in it as well?
Tom Hanks.
Tom Hanks. Okay, and Dan, you're the actor.
I really like Emile Hirsch playing Christopher McCandless in Into the Wild.
Film is amazing.
It is heart-wrenching. It's incredible. I mean, the book originally by John Krakauer is obviously based on Christopher's travels and like the people that he met, and I just think that Emile Hirsch does the whole role justice. It's moving to the end. And I just think that, I guess, the story of Christopher just kind of resonates with me a little bit, I suppose. And I think that for me just makes it unbelievable.
Very powerful film and a very good answer, Dan. Question 3 now. The No More Page 3 campaign. See why we made it question 3 this week. Appears
Very
to
clever.
Yeah, I think these things through, James.
I hadn't even realised that.
The No More Page 3 campaign appears to be slowly working against the Sun newspaper's main selling point. Even Rupert Murdoch has come out on Twitter this week to say that it's a bit outdated. So, if and when the Sun decides to stop having boobs on page 3, what should it have instead? Dan?
I guess they'll probably try and find a way around, like a loophole or something, and just have adverts for bras or something. But really, I think that they should have a world map with every different day, like have a focus point on a different country or a different city, and sort of give information about that place and show like how it's, show connections between England and that place, I guess, to sort of educate the readers of that thing about, the importance of tolerance and multiculturalism in the world outside of England.
Great stuff. Steve?
Well, yeah, the Sun newspaper is not for the intelligent, I think it's fair to say. I think I'm really going to say just, maybe they could just put some news on page 3. Just give them something to read.
You mean news from pages 1 to 53?
Yeah. It's just, they're missing one page. It has boobs on them. What's one extra page of news? It's not going to make a difference. Maybe just make it like a sex column and make it news. Celebrity, like, well, Emma Watson got laid last night. Something like that. It'll make it slightly more interesting for the news readers that buy that newspaper. And yeah, there is no like boobs on there, but at least they get something to, play around with.
If they were being told when Emma Watson had sex, it's scary to think that would actually increase the sales of that newspaper.
It would, honestly, it would completely, they would sell millions. I should be a promoter for the Sun. I'm putting that format now. I'll happily do that page for you, Sun newspaper.
It would just become like the Financial Times, but instead of like the FTSE 100, it would just be a list of celebrities and if they've been laid that week.
Just a news report going to like red carpets. So, Scarlett Johansson got a bit of something this week.
If we ever spin off into lemon cakes and we're doing interviews on the red carpet, we're not sending Steve. Okay, James, what have you got?
I think what they should do is have recipes for food in the shape of boobs and have pictures of that. Just so they've still got their boob demographic covered, and also encouraging people to eat healthy foods.
That's a rather genius idea there. And that brings us to the end of the first round, and it's very close on the points front. And back on 9, it's Steve.
Oh God!
Just ahead on 10, it's James. But for his blind optimism that the Sun newspaper would branch out into promoting education of the world, and wouldn't just put pictures of women from the rest of the world on page 3, it's Dan on 11.
Whoop whoop!
We should plug the fact that we have a Facebook page, the 11 O'Clock Waffle, as well as the YouTube page, which obviously you're listening to us on. Please subscribe to both of those. And you can talk to Chris Stanley via the Twitter page, 11 O'Clock Waffle. Chris runs that. So if you have any questions about the show or about Chris Stanley's life, he's married now, he can give you some advice. Just talk to him on Twitter with the hashtag ramming speed.
That's a good hashtag.
That's genius.
Question 4 now. James Corden is looking to replace Craig Ferguson as the host of the Late Late Show in America. Another hosting role to which I've cruelly been overlooked. So, as British hosts are proving rather popular stateside, let's grab one of their own. Which American comedian would you like to host a talk show in Britain? James?
I'm going with Kevin Hart to take over doing Jeremy Kyle. I think that'd just be hilarious, just to see him react to the idiots that go on that programme. I think would just be brilliant.
That's a quality answer. Steve?
I don't like James's answer. I think Reginald D. Hunter great big guy. And I was trying to think of a good show, and I was thinking Jeremy Kyle, but I think they should have like something different, like the US talk shows that they have, like Jimmy Fallon, or whatever it's called, something like that in the UK, but like with him talking to British, mainly British, and then maybe the odd people coming over. It'll be pretty awesome, I think. Just Reginald D. Hunter, because he's so deadpan and he just doesn't care. And it would have to be late night because some of the stuff he says. He got in trouble with the PFA for doing a comedy gig and for saying the N-word one too many times, despite him doing that all his life, which was awesome because they should have known what to expect.
It was a brilliant piece of booking by the PFA.
Yeah.
We've got this racism issue at the minute. Who can we hire?
We'll get in the guy that says the N-word one too many times in every sketch that he does. But yeah, no, I think him doing like a USA talk show, or maybe even I think he could do the Jeremy Kyle show. But it's already been taken. I think Kevin Hart will be hilarious. That's why I don't like your accent.
James, you'll be winning off all these bonus points at the minute. Okay, Dan.
I would like Will Ferrell and Will Arnett to do a sketch show amidst like Jonathan Ross. So get rid of Jonathan Ross, and then you can have 4 puffs, a couple of Wills, and a piano, and then they can just like take control. Lose control probably more likely, knowing Will Ferrell and Will Arnett. They can be like the new 2 Ronnies.
I need to see the Lego movie because Will Arnett is Batman in it. And
is he really?
Yeah, Will Arnett voices Batman.
I think he's got the most brilliant voice. Arrested Development is just phenomenal. Jove, everything he does just cracks me up.
I'm pretty sure he's the voice of... Has anybody seen BoJack Horseman?
BoJack Horseman. Yeah. I started watching it. Yeah, he is.
Absolute genius, that show. I watched the whole thing the other week, and it is absolute genius. It's brilliant.
I'm gonna have to check that out. I started watching
it last night. It's brilliant. It is good.
It's so good.
Oh, where were we?
Around question 4, I think.
Question 4. Question 5 then. Let's move on to question 5. Jack the Ripper has apparently been identified as a Polish hairdresser named Aaron Kosminski. So, if this is really the conclusion to one of Britain's most enduring unsolvable mysteries, and one which makes my novel, which hinges entirely on Jack the Ripper not being known, completely being ruined, what else can we look to for the unanswerable? Steve?
Not really sure. To be honest, I was quite surprised by that news. I was like, really? When did that come out? But I've tried looking for some unexplained mysteries. A few things recently. You got the airplane that disappeared, unexplained. Madeleine McCann, still unexplained. What I don't get is that whole Madeleine McCann thing. It's been ongoing for as long as they have, and yet they've now released another book regarding that. And I can't believe it's been ongoing. It's unexplained. We should leave it unexplained, and it should stay that way. But there's so many unexplained mysteries, like the conspiracy theories that go along by it. It could be the parents that killed it to gain money, and the fact they got to meet the Pope is outrageous. But if you look at 9/11, something more specific, there's loads of conspiracy theories about that, and I think America just went to Al Qaeda, and a lot of conspiracy theories feel that that's not actually Al Qaeda and that there was something more to it. But yeah, that's kind of what I was going for. I came up with 3 answers by mistake.
Brilliant. Okay, let's cross to Dan.
What the hell happened to Agatha Christie during her disappearance?
Yes.
I know that Doctor Who touched upon it in The Unicorn and the Wasp, giving, obviously, a sci-fi version of events. There was a film about it, speculating and looking at it, and obviously the headlines at the time, made plenty of accusations about her as a publicity stunt, making it try and look like her husband had murdered her, or whether it was like an attempted suicide. I think the doctors eventually just said that she was suffering from amnesia, but she never mentioned it in her autobiography or anything. So what happened? What the hell happened for 10 days? It's crazy. No one knows.
Fantastic. That's a really good answer, Dan. James, what have you got in your socks?
First of all, the mystery of why I'm still single, because let's face it, I'm a catch.
Why wasn't that my answer?
On a more serious note, I've gone for ball lightning. It's a really rare phenomenon where lightning, as is described in the name, forms a ball. and it's really bizarre because it can like avoid obstacles and it follows patterns on furniture and stuff when it's been seen in houses. It can go through glass windows without damaging them. Yet in 1984, when it flew through a Russian aircraft, it made a hole in the front where it went in and then a hole in the back where it went out. And they either just fizzle away or they explode quite violently. And scientists just can't manage to recreate the effect.
That's very interesting. I've never really come across that before. The ball. So it's ball lightning.
Ball lightning, yeah.
I really don't want to give you any more bonus points, but that sounds fascinating.
I know, right?
God damn you.
Go home, James.
Where do you find this stuff?
On his travels. He went travelling.
Yeah, he's been in Coventry.
Yeah, I've not gone anywhere. I'm a hideous lie.
I'm surprised nobody went for the Mary Celeste. That's still an unsolvable mystery.
That was a boat?
Yeah, that was the boat where the entire crew, it was a family I think, were on it, and they all just vanished, but all the food that was on the plates was like half eaten. So it's like they'd left in the middle of dinner. But
Reaver's got them.
Maybe they heard something outside and went to sea and then got washed away. Oh dear. That's awful though, isn't it? Like mid dinner.
Yeah,
disappeared.
That's the worst bit.
Let me finish my chicken.
Yeah, not that they were never seen again, but that they didn't get to finish lunch.
D.I. Dan, this is awful. He's left half a creme brulee.
That passy's gone to waste now, isn't it?
Well, of course, there's the Dick Turpin ghost. That's an unsolvable mystery.
Oh.
Ghost of Dick Turpin they saw. I think, in fact, any ghost is an unanswerable mystery.
I was going to say most ghosts, not just Dick Turpin, but...
Dick Turpin, yeah. Oh, there's a few that have been solved, but...
Dick Turpin's one that really gets us, yeah.
One of the ones that was solved was the... do you remember when was it MI5? They released the file of all the UFO reports they'd had sent in? And somebody who'd been living near Heathrow Airport reported seeing lights in the sky one night.
Really?
Wonder what that could have been.
Yeah.
That's suspicious behaviour, yeah.
Suspicious lights. Question number 6. Without Jack the Ripper, of course, we may never have got Sherlock Holmes. Holmes was written by Arthur Conan Doyle as a response to the public's lack of faith in the police at the time of the Ripper killings. Probably because they kept turning up and commenting on the leftover food. But what is your favourite piece of Victorian literature? And we'll start with Dan this time.
That's a really, really difficult question, and I thought about it a lot, because there's a lot of important literature from that time, like Tolstoy's War and Peace and Dostoevsky, and a lot of philosophical kind of questions, I guess, that were proposed. But mostly, I kind of enjoy the simple story of Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, just because it's so mad. And I think the most beautiful story is A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. And Charles Dickens kind of manhandles the Victorian era like a boss, but A Christmas Carol is just so perfect, I think, because it's a lot shorter than his other ones. It's a lot more approachable. It's just got a very rounded arc to the story, and I think it's brilliant. And Oscar Wilde, I love Oscar Wilde, but I can't have all the answers. I can only have one, so I guess.
I was going to say, we're going to run out of answers.
I know that's Victorian literature, so
Having named every Victorian literaturist.
I just love A Christmas Carol. That's my favourite.
Also tapping into Alice in Wonderland, written by Lewis Carroll, who was suspected of the Ripper killings.
Really?
Yeah, he's one of the ones they thought did it.
What with all the opiate smoking and that?
Yeah.
You know, have a good old bong and then go out and kill some hookers. That's normal Friday night for Lewis Carroll.
Standard weekend procedures.
Yeah, it was a Victorian era. Who cares? Right?
People do that now.
I do that every Tuesday.
This is why you're single.
Look, we already had police next door in Carter's flat last week doing forensic testing. We don't need to lose another contestant. Speaking of, I've not heard from Carla since last week, so she may have actually been arrested.
Another unexplained mystery.
Yeah. Steve.
As a atheist, the Charles Darwin's Origin of Species, one of the better scientific, one of the best things I think to come out of the Victorian literature. Just the whole open-mindedness of okay, so religion have invaded poison our minds. Here's another idea. Maybe there was no God. And I think that's just really brave of one man in the Victorian age to turn around and say, yeah, you're all wrong as it happens. This is what happened. And then just went on through the process of evolution and stuff like that. I think it's still, I really do find evolution interesting. And, it just takes me by surprise, like how, like today, people still find like great big sharks when they like relate to like a chicken or something, I don't know.
I'm not sure the shark's related to the chicken, but I get your point.
Yeah, it was just, banter.
I still find it hard to believe that some people don't recognise evolution when it's just the most pragmatic approach to existence. You look at it and it's like, oh, yeah, that's it.
Definitely. I have my own views, which I will not air on this show. Yeah, I could spend the whole hour on this show going on about it.
Gibbard's got a book out at Christmas. Gibbard, My Theory of Evolution.
Taken from the ideas of Charles Darwin.
Well, you've just basically rewritten Origin of the Species, but in text tones.
Actually, just in more up-to-date language.
Okay, and let's go to James. You have an English degree, I believe.
I do, for all the good it's done me.
Yeah, I have one too.
I've gone for Edgar Allan Poe and The Mask of the Red Death. It's just one of my favourite pieces of literature to come out of that time frame. I know he's on the other side of the pond, but he's brilliant. And otherwise, I absolutely love Hound of the Baskervilles. Can't go wrong with Sherlock Holmes, really, can you? Mostly because he wasn't in that one very much, which I thought was quite a refreshing change for a Holmes story.
Hound of the Baskervilles is very good.
Yes, did one of my dissertations on that.
And I suppose obviously we should mention, as Dan pointed out earlier, Oscar Wilde, Importance of Being Earnest.
Oh, brilliant. I love that. It's such a good play.
A handbag.
Handbag! It's brilliant.
And then, of course, Picture of Dorian Gray, isn't it?
The
Not a
Picture of
portrait.
Dorian Gray.
Which is
I
an
love that
amazing story,
Yeah.
but they absolutely bodged it in the film.
Yeah,
So
the ending, they kind of burned everything, didn't they? At the end, it was crazy.
They're just like, oh yeah, he's totally in love with this guy's daughter that doesn't exist in the book.
Yeah.
And they also destroyed the character when they did that god-awful League of Extraordinary Gentlemen film as well, didn't
Yeah.
He was in that.
They botched everything in that film, though. I mean, no one came out of that film looking good.
Sean Connery retired because of that film.
Quite
Not
probably.
my choice.
No, he did. He did. That was the last film he did. Look it up. He just went,
God.
no, that's it. Did you know why he made League of Extraordinary Gentlemen?
Who?
They offered him Gandalf in Lord of the Rings. He turned it down.
Oh, wow.
Ian
He
McKellen
hadn't read it. He didn't understand it.
Yeah, he didn't understand it. So he turned it down. Ian McKellen did it, made absolute millions, and Sean Connery went, well, I think I might get in on this fantasy game.
He calculated it after he turned down the role, and he figured out that if he'd taken the role of Gandalf, he'd have made over $200 million off the films. And he wasn't very happy about it.
Well, you win some, you lose some.
Because they offered him like 50% of the profits from like merchandising and everything. But he said, nah, I don't get it.
I'm trying to picture Sean Connery as Gandalf now, though.
He would have been terrible.
You shall not pass.
Frodo! We're taking the hobbits to Isengard.
My name's Grey. Gandalf the Grey.
Oh, dear.
It would have been god-awful.
It would have been terrible. It would have completely destroyed that franchise for me. He's brilliant, don't get me wrong, but he's almost comic now,
Wrong
really,
for
isn't
the
he?
part.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe he'll come back in the next Star Wars film if he's interested in sci-fi and fantasy and stuff now.
Luke, I am your father.
Luke, I'm your stepdad.
Starting to sound more like Bane, guys.
Oh my god, Sean Connery is Bane. I will destroy this city.
When Gotham is in ashes, you have my permission to die.
He's been quiet, isn't he, with the vote next week? Speaking of, there will be referendum questions on next week's show, just to raise the levels of excitement.
Woo!
For a second, I couldn't tell if that was everybody making the same noise or like a soundbite you had.
Yeah. Let's go for the scores now. At the back on 21, it's Steve.
Shock.
On 24, it's James. And narrowly ahead on 25, it's Dan.
No way!
Okay, so question number 7. An Austrian footballer has been banned for 70 matches for headbutting a referee. Luis Suarez has defended the player by saying it's clearly obvious that the referee moved his head onto the Austrians first. So give me other bizarre sporting moments. James, you're probably the most athletic man ever to be on the Waffle.
Oh, absolutely. I'm into all the sports balls. I've gone with a story about an MMA fighter called Jared Wyatt, who cut open his friend Tyler Powell's chest and ate his heart, his tongue and his face while he was still alive. They were tripping on mushrooms and he thought that his friend was the devil and he had to save the world from him. So he ate his innards while he was still alive.
I've heard that. That is... Yeah.
Wow.
Don't
Not
do
something you
mushrooms,
should
kids.
do. Yeah. If there's anything that you can learn from this show is don't do opium or mushrooms.
And don't employ Dan as a detective.
Or me as a news
He
reporter.
should have gone with the eyes first.
Alright, Mark Forsyth, knowledgeable man of human anatomy.
Hey, when I was little, my mum put on a film called Alive, if you've seen that, and that will freak you out.
It's one about the air crash, isn't it, where they eat each other. He went with the heart because the heart's full of courage, isn't it?
And the devil...
Oh, there
Devil's
was
courage is
reasoning
his main
behind
power?
his. There was reasoning behind eating his friend.
There was
Yeah.
there was a
It's
method
saving
to
the world from the
mushrooms,
devil. And the face is just delicious, obviously.
Because friendship is sharing a tastily burned face.
Okay, Dan. Other bizarre sporting moments.
Ah, I'm in the lead though. Don't ask me a question like that. I don't watch sports. I don't play sports. I knew this question was going to be my downfall. When I read it, I looked at it as bizarre sporting rather than bizarre moments in sports. So I can tell you a little bit about mountain unicycling if you're interested.
Okay.
That's a bizarre story in itself.
It is bizarre. It's actually, technically it's safer than mountain biking, despite the fact that you're only on one wheel, because you can't get enough speed up on a unicycle, essentially. The worst injuries that they've had have been minor sprains and a few scratches and bruising. And apparently, yeah, well, this is it. I mean, I just hope that they have to wear clown costumes while they're doing it. I don't think they do, but I think they should implement a day at least where if you're unicycling on a mountain, you have to be dressed as a clown.
How disturbing would that be for, like, hikers and mountain climbers and going on their hike through the mountain one day and just find a bunch of clowns on unicycles?
Like a full circus, just unicycling past them down the mountain.
Welcome to the mountain of fun.
Turn back now, or you'll be like us.
You know those moments when you watch sport and the Rob Green moment where the ball went through his legs, and victory was there and then it vanished. That may have just happened to Dan.
Oh no! I don't do sports. I hate sports questions. I'm not the sporty person.
Let's go to Steve. Can you capitalise on that mistake?
Yes. Well, the thing is, every time I come on the Waffle, you come up with this very similar question. I think you do it on purpose.
We only have 3 questions. We just cycle them each week.
Yeah. Very true, very true. As a sporty person, most recent news story, an NFL football player has been released from their team and banned and suspended for punching his fiancée, who he's now married to, in the lift twice till she was stone cold, solid out cold, just knocked
I
out.
saw this.
And he pretty much looked at her and thought, well, I've made a mistake here. He was a black guy. I'm not saying he's called Ray Rice. He was very good at what he did, but he's got a very mean left hook. He carried it. He pretty much dragged her out of the lift. And it was all captured on a hotel CCTV. And it looked violent.
On to question 8 now. Contestant telly is everywhere, with Strictly Come Dancing, X Factor and The Great British Bake Off all currently on our screens and dominating the ratings. Panellists, if you could appear on one, which would it be and what would you do? Steve.
Right, I have no rhythm, so I cannot dance. I have no singing ability, as we now well know.
Sing star.
The less said about that, the better. And so the only thing I have any hope of doing is baking, and I did quite well in baking in school. And I would probably bake a really large cake, and that's about as far as it goes. I might decorate it in some obscene way to make it look very stylish. But that's about as far as I can go. I cannot dance. I cannot sing. I can barely cook. This is not a question for me, if I'm honest.
Okay,
make a boob cake for page 3.
I think, this could be it. Page 3 for your little scene, and
Yeah.
it'll be like...
Go and buy your son. Page 3, there's your recipe of a cake. Where you go. James.
I think I would also have to go on the old Bake Off because I'm quite a whiz in the old kitchen. And I'd make my dessert pizza, which is like a sweet puff pastry base with like jam for the sauce and then custard for the cheese and then like sweets and biscuits for the toppings.
That sounds calorific.
Yeah, it'll probably kill you.
Death by dessert pizza.
Well, okay, Dan, what have you got?
I also have no dancing talent or singing talent, and therefore thought about going on the Bake Off. However, technically the X Factor isn't just about singing. However, it's only ever really singers that ever win it. I thought I would go on there and do a one-man performance of Victorian literature in 60 seconds while riding a unicycle.
You know, it's not. That's Britain's Got Talent you're thinking of.
Oh, is it totally that? Oh, no.
Yeah.
Then I would just really fail in that audition, I guess, wouldn't I?
They would wonder what you're doing.
when I get on my unicycle and open my book, yeah. Goodness me.
This Rob Free moment looks very, very, very...
Oh, no, I know. In which case, well, if X Factor is not the one I thought it was, I don't watch any of these shows, by the way, I would have to go on the Bake Off then, and I guess I would make... I don't know, I love traditional food, like just traditional British big, beefy meals, like roast dinners and that kind of stuff. And
Have you ever watched the Bake Off?
I have watched the last... I've watched the last couple of
When
episodes.
do they do roast dinners?
I don't know. They should do.
It's about bacon. They do.
I guess you
bread
can't
and
bake a
cake.
roast dinner. Then I would make...
You would make a mean Yorkshire pudding.
Then I would show
Last
them how
time.
to bake a roast dinner.
It was a year ago that you were last on, because the question was, if you're on Bake Off, what would you bake? And your answer was pasta carbonara.
I don't watch these TV shows. Why couldn't you have asked me, I don't know, if I was in Doctor Who, what alien would I be, or something like that? That's an answer I can answer. A question I can answer, rather. I don't watch these shows. Daniel Scholes has just fell to last place.
James, you're almost there for once.
Wait!
Okay, it's the final round now, where our guests will present a news headline followed by a 20-second summary of the story. The story will either be true and something from the past week's news, or purely fictional. The other guests will then have to decide whether they feel it's fact or fiction. So, James, I think we all know that you're in the lead by now. So, would you like to pick the running order?
I'll go first, then Steve, then Dan.
Okay, so James, what is your news headline and story?
My news headline is South Korea debuts new parking spaces that are wide, pink and really sexist. And the story is that Seoul have spent $100 million making the city more female friendly, and that includes really wide pink parking spaces, 7,000 women-only public toilets, and spongy pavements so that walking in high heels is easier.
Okay, Steve.
Expecting father is signed off from work when he has morning sickness. Basically, his fiancée is expecting a baby, and while she's going through her womanly things, he's experiencing similar womanly things by having morning sickness and also growing a pair of breasts at the same time. And the woman is actually going through it a lot easier than the man. Surprise, surprise.
Okay, and Dan last of all.
The headline is "Every Hole a Goal for San Jose." And the story is that the
Is this
first...
your autobiography?
This is from San Jose, California. The first official orificiary, named Hole Fresh, has opened in California, a clinic that provides advice and consultations and conducts hygienic sessions for all bodily orifices. The clinic offers a variety of nasal and oral hygiene practices, including teeth whitening, taste tests, ear tests, like you'd go to the optician for your eyesight and stuff, as well as a selection of intimate sessions with our orificists, including colonic irrigation, penile and vaginal hygiene seminars, and personal cleansing sessions. They also have a branded line of self-hygiene products.
Very informative. Is this your next advert after Iceland?
Is this what you put on page 3?
Yeah, this is the San Jose focus point for page 3 of The Sun this week, yeah.
Samey 23's view on San Jose's every hole a goal. I thought it was nice. Okay, so we've got South Korean pink parking spaces, a father suffering from morning sickness, and colonic irrigation, pretty much. Steve, which of those do you think's true or false?
True for both of my contestants.
Okay, Dan, what do you think?
I don't think that pink South Korea is true. I think that's false. I do believe about the farmer and his growing breasts.
Okay, and James?
I think they're both true.
Okay, so could be an interesting swing in the points possibly. James, South Korean parking spaces, true or false?
It is true.
A new Korea would do something like that.
Have they really got spongy pavements?
Yeah.
That is madness.
It is such a good idea, though.
I mean, maybe it'll reduce, injuries from falling out of windows, I guess, or something, but spongy pavements so that you can walk in high heels better, that is crazy.
They've tried to be really nice to the women of the city, but in the same instance they've massively insulted them by making the parking spaces like a good third sort of size bigger than a normal space would be.
That's so bad, isn't it?
There you go, it's just for you. We know you can't park, so have it bigger one.
It's terrible.
It's really bad. But the toilets and the pavements is a great idea, though. So.
How much did they spend on this? $100
million.
That is insanity.
Well, if they change the pound coin, they have to change every pound coin, vending machine, and it's going to cost $1 billion to change all of them in the UK.
Oh, God.
You've got to think of it that way. It's not that much.
Okay, the father with the morning sickness, is that true or false?
It is indeed true. Matt is actually going through the same symptoms as a girlfriend, and I'm surprised he isn't growing his own vagina. He is quite. He's getting the same rest. He literally, he's just the girlfriend came to the news. He's like, yeah, he's worse than me. I'm looking after him when I'm meant to be looking after. He's meant to be looking after me. It's quite the story. It's both of them going through birth at the same time or something.
Sympathetic pregnancy.
Yeah.
Okay, and here it is. Yeah, this is the final to decide who wins the tournament, pretty much. Or today's show, rather.
The tournament made this bigger.
Yeah, it's epic. James, it's in your grasp.
I need the win.
Dan, every hole a goal for San Jose. True or false?
It's false.
What?
Complete and utter fabrication, I'm afraid. There's no such thing as an orificiary, as far as I'm aware, and as far as I know, there are no orificists. They're just words I made up.
Which means, for duping both of you, Dan gets 3 points, which means
God.
the scores... Possibly an all-time worst for you, Steve. 31.
Well, because if I got 32 and 32, it is...
Technically, that is your all-time worst.
It is.
It's a new low, Steve.
On 36 points. In second place. Having been duped at the final, it's James.
Yes!
And 37 for having orifices in the final round. It's Dan.
Unbelievable. Oh, that's fantastic news.
The poorest 2 rounds. He said, I'm going to bake a roast dinner in his final. How did he get more points?
Pity points.
This guy's an idiot. He knows nothing about sport. He knows nothing about baking. Give him 5. Oh, shut him up.
It's that final round. He just duped you on the last bit.
James has now topped himself with opium.
James, you still there?
Happens every time.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're going to come back again though, right, James? We'll get you on a show with just, like, Carla and Steve.
I think my only chance of actually winning again is to be on a show by myself.
That's it for this week's show. We have the Twitter page, so please go on, tweet Chris Stanley at the Evening Standards with the hashtag ramming speed. This will be a thing, I feel, by the start of next week.
I hope it is. I really hope it is.
I really get extra points for ramming speed.
You got points. You had like 3 points because everybody kept sucking up to your answers.
God damn it, I'm so nice.
Where else do we go from here? Next week, Jennifer Roberts is back on the show. We should also say happy birthday because it's her birthday today.
Happy birthday.
Obviously, every time you listen to this, it's not actually going to be her birthday. But just give her cake anyway. Just send her cake if you listen to the show because it's her birthday. We are, of course, approaching up to our 50th special as well, which, James, I hope you're going to be a part of.
Hopefully, yeah.
Dan?
I would love to be.
And Steve, obviously, one of the newbies on the show.
Oh, why not? Sign me up.
Okay, so thank you to our guests this week, Steve Gibbard in Exeter.
Thank you. Cheers.
James Joseph Millar, still in Coventry.
Still indeed.
And having just pipped today's win, despite offering to go on the Bake Off with roast beef, it's somehow Dan from Derby.
Lying equals victory.
Creative lying, I think you'll find. Is what that
Creative lying, yes.
And if you're
Saturday.
interested in a date with this man, are you going to be on Tinder at any point?
I still have yet to get a smartphone, so that probably won't work all that well. I'll be swiping the laptop, I guess. I don't want to do that.
That just sounds filthy.
It does.
I'm going to go home and have an evening swiping the laptop.
Hey, to be fair, this is the first Waffle I've done with a girlfriend. You know, times have changed.
Yeah.
Also, I think anybody that spends an evening with Tinder needs their priorities sorted, because I can't see an evening of it being all that entertaining.
It takes up about 5 minutes of your time.
I'll sit there all night just swiping away.
As your circle just gradually expands and widens until it covers like half of Europe.
Oh, we're back to orifices again.
You've swiped everyone in your area. It's just getting bigger now. Here's someone in San Jose who's interested.
You'll think for San Jose today.
And on that bombshell, it's time to wrap up the show. Thank you for listening and for my guests for being on, and we'll be back next week. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Hashtag ramming speed.